This show is much more than just waxing. It's a movement to empower women to heal and thrive, all while shedding guilt and shame along the way. Have you ever wondered what conversations unfold behind the closed doors of a wax room? Well, wonder no more. We are here to bring those intimate, exciting, and unconventional discussions to the big screen. Each wax strip tells a story, and every story deserves to be heard. So welcome to Wax Room on Air, where we're peeling back more than just wax strips. My name is Choc. I'm your host and Coochie connoisseur. Merry Christmas, everybody. It is about that time. It's the most wonderful time of the year. And all I want for Christmas is good pussy. That's it. That's all I want. That's all I want. Never mind. I already got that. What do I want for Christmas for real? I want a lot of stuff for Christmas, so we ain't even gonna get into my list. I might interview a Santa Claus or something. Who knows? Y'all, this is a very different episode. Y'all been asking for me to drop weekly, so that's what I'm gonna do. And y'all gonna get whatever comes to mind and whatever, I'm gonna let my creative side run the solo episodes. So this really is an emergency episode because I had some stuff happen and I was like, I got to get in the studio right away. Let me tell you how I know I'm on the right path, because I was supposed to be here at 5. It's after 6 o'clock. I got here late because I had a client book within 2 hours. And usually I never wax and record on the same day. So I actually sent her a message saying I wasn't going to be able to do it because my schedule was too full today. But she came from out of town. And she prepaid for her appointment in full too, y'all, which shows the dedication. So I was like, yeah, let me see if I can make it happen. Text Spider, he couldn't move it back. So I was just like, we gonna make this happen. Even if I had to cut the episode short today. So that's why we here. That's what we doing. I'm gonna go try to speed through it. Well, I ain't gonna rush, but we gonna get to it because I went ahead and accepted the client because I used to pray for days like this. I was asking God to get me booked and busy and blessed, and he delivered. Be careful what you ask for, because he gonna overfill that cup for real. That cup is gonna be overflowing. Just make sure you have room enough to receive it, because he gonna get the pouring. Today's episode is sponsored by the Pussy Box. This box is for your vaginal wellness on the inside. So it helps treat BV, yeast infection, minor vaginal infections. There are products in there that is going to help relief from herpes outbreak. And it's also a good maintenance product for when you finish up on your cycle. My name is Choc. I will be your waxer today. This wax room is for naked conversations. So I do ask that you remove all masks, all armor, and leave any facades that you may have at the door. With that being said, are you naked? Why, yes, I am. Y'all know the vibes. Actually, I'm a little bit covered up today because my man, he don't be going for that shit. He want me to be covered and modest, so I'm working on it. But we're going to get straight into the wax today. My name is Choc. I'm your waxer and coochie connoisseur. And let's get into this episode, okay? So first, I do a pre-cleanse, get into the wax, let y'all know what's going on. We're going to catch up. We're going to introduce the guests. As y'all know or can tell, this is a solo episode. So we're just really going to catch up on what I've been having going on. I've been really, really busy. I'm back in the wax room part-time right now. It has not been full-time, but we will be going into full-time at the top of the year. So if you want me to be your waxer, make sure you get a wax pass. That is the only way that you will have accessibility to me as a waxer personally in 2025. If you do not have a wax pass, don't worry. I got some bomb ass waxers on my team, and they're going to get you taken care of. So that's really just what I've been working on, is the transition back into the wax room and bringing the pussy boxes back in stock. And then, of course, dropping weekly, because y'all been asking for me to drop the podcast weekly. So we just trying to really get a system together and make all of that work. Like I said in the beginning, I had a client book a priority Brazilian, which means they need service that same day today. And it ran into our recording time. I deal with anxiety way too much to be having appointments and stuff back to back like that. I don't want 2025 to be like that. So with that being said, I'm going to have y'all pre-scheduled, and I will not be waxing and recording on the same day if God says the same. If he want me that busy, then I'm just going to have to be that busy, but I really prefer to keep them separately. So with that being said, help your girl out and get your wax pass so you can be booked early. We going on tour next year. We doing a live show next year. We got a lot of stuff to do for this podcast, so I cannot be handcuffed to the wax room the way I have been in the previous years. That's really it for the pre-cleanse. Let's get into it. We're going to do a temp check. Make sure that the wax not too hot. What that translates into on Wax Room on Air is just a mental health check-in. So, Choc, how are you doing mentally? Oh, y'all. That's why we had to do an emergency episode, because if I had to be honest, mentally, I'm doing unwell. Okay? And it's not even in a bad way. I know y'all like, how you unwell, but it's not bad. It's going to make sense in a second, okay? But yeah, this week, the last like past 7 days have not been the best for my mental health. People got cut off. The phone been on Do Not Disturb. Folks got blocked on Instagram, Facebook. Child, I was hypersensitive to everything. And I don't know, like I had a moment and I'm just thinking like, why are you like this? Like what happened? Because there's no evidence to support the reason you feel like this. The waxing going crazy. The pussy boxes, they back in stock. The podcast doing numbers. My children are healthy. Like I really don't have any complaints. So I didn't know why I was feeling like so crazy mentally. And then I had a revelation and I was like, you know what? My cycle is getting ready to start. And sure enough, it started that night, I think. And so I was like, oh my God, did I just have a PMS episode? Because I've never really experienced that. I can't say never because I haven't been big about tracking it or whatever. But this time, y'all, it was so evident that I was PMSing and it was really, really bad. So I had went down this rabbit hole trying to figure out like what is PMS. And like I said, I hadn't really experienced it that I knew of up until this point. So I was really green on it, which not gonna hold y'all. It was like a little bit embarrassing or shameful because the field that I'm in. So I'm like, why don't you know more about PMSing? We do not talk about this enough. And I guess if it's not something that you deal with regularly, then you wouldn't think to talk about it, which is the reason why, baby, we finna do this episode because I went down a rabbit hole on TikTok. I found a few things. Let me go ahead and drop the disclaimer. I am not a medical practitioner. I am not a doctor. I'm not a nurse. I have nothing to do with the medical field. I just did my research, and I encourage y'all to do your own research as well. Not diagnosing myself, not diagnosing anybody else, but I do just want to have this conversation so that we could be aware of our bodies. And really the only way to have pedestal pussy, to put your pussy on a pedestal, is to truly be aware of your body and what it's doing and what's going on. We definitely got to learn more about our bodies because, y'all, I was tripping this past week and it was not nice. It was absolutely not nice. But we're going to get into more of that in the episode. Our next segment is called Bikini Strip. That is an introduction into the wax. I pull a little bitty strip to introduce my clients into the Brazilian wax. What that translates to on Wax Room on Air is just like an icebreaker question. So the bikini strip for today's episode is, how old were you when you started your menstrual cycle? I think I was like 13. Let me see. I started my cycle in 2008. So 2005, I was 10. Yeah, I was 13. So if y'all don't know, I'm not I'm not cutting it out. I can't do math, so judge your mama. But yeah, I started my cycle when I was 13 years old. I was in the 8th grade. And the second part of that question is, where were you at? I was actually at home at my grandmother's house on the toilet. I remember like we were going through a really rough patch in our life at the time. we had been taken away from our mother and we were living with our grandmother, my sister and I. So my mama had taught me about periods and everything leading up into this point. So I knew, like, if I ever seen blood in my panties, that I needed to let her know or what have you. It's just so happened that life happened and she wasn't the person that I told that I started my period. I did started getting discharged at about like 10 or 11, and I thought I was getting ready to start my period. So I remember like taking my panties to my mama and like, Mom, look, this was in my panties. And so that's when she taught me about what discharge was. And then a couple of years after that, I was using the bathroom. I seen blood in my panties. I wiped and I was like, oh, this is really blood. And just like God, I don't even know. My grandmother was walking either past the bathroom. I had the door cracked or maybe the door was open. I really don't know. But she walked past and she was like, why you got that look on your face like that? And I was like, I think I got blood in my panties. And so she brought me a pad. Damn, I'm getting a little bit emotional. I didn't even expect to get all emotional. I'm telling you, it's that PMS and shit. She brought me a pad and told me everything that I needed to do to take care of myself down there. And the rest was history. That's how I started my period. I mean, yeah, that's how I started my period. That's how old I was when I started. I would love to know y'all period stories. So make sure y'all drop them in the comments, okay? Now it's time for waxing session. This is the real topic. This is where we get into the real wax. When I ask my clients to butterfly for me in the real wax room, they got to open their legs. I got to get all up into their business. So what that translates to on the podcast is just asking a question that requires my guest or myself, when it's a solo episode, to open up. So, Choc, will you butterfly for me? Why, yes, I will. How do you take care of yourself emotionally and physically when you're PMSing? Now, this question, like I said, is going to be hard for me to answer because I haven't really noticed a pattern. Like, I wouldn't sit up here and tell y'all I have experienced PMS every month or regularly. This is my first time actually ever catching it. But when I am on my cycle, I naturally just withdraw from people and I do what I need to do and nothing more. I make my bath times really luxurious. I'm exfoliating. I'm doing a triple cleanse. I'm using every body scrub, oil, body butter, all the stuff to make myself feel good. I'm wearing the little fuzzy socks. Not really a heat pad, girly. I don't ever really need a heating pad. I don't experience cramps. It's crazy because up until this point in my life, I've had pretty great cycles. I'm actually one of God's favorites in that arena, except for the fact that it do last 7 days. Actually more recently, it's been more on like the 5-6 days because I've been wearing the period panties more than tampons. So we're going to get into that. Baby, when I'm telling you, we're going to bring some experts on here. We're going to talk about that. Because when I noticed that switch, it was by complete accident. But when I noticed, like, I stopped using tampons, my periods stopped being way longer and as heavy as they usually are. So I truly do believe that there are toxins and chemicals in them tampons that is making our periods last longer and be more painful and just a lot more dramatic than what they have to be. But anyway, so I give myself a really good bath. I eat a lot of salmon when I'm on my cycle. And I've heard that you're supposed to do like citrus fruits. I'm really not a fruit girly. So my take is going to be like a good bath, a lot of salmon, and red wine if I do feel like I need a drink. And again, I just kind of remove myself away from everybody and I only do what is required of me. Go to work, take care of my kids, go home, go to sleep. That's really it. Don't really have a lot of cravings. If I do, the guy I'm dating, he asked me that. He was like, what do you like to eat when you're on your cycle? And if I do crave anything, it's gonna be chocolate. It's gonna be like a Snickers chocolate milkshake from Jack in the Box only. And like that chocolate Snickers cheesecake from what I was gonna say, the Choc Factory. Child. From the Cheesecake Factory. Y'all know, funny point. I love the Cheesecake Factory down, baby. I love them Long Island's iced tea. That is my shit, okay? And that Parmesan crusted chicken with the green beans and the mashed potatoes, that's my shit. So when I decided to rebrand, if you were OG, you remember when I was Yonis and Brows. That's actually what the EIN is originally under, Yonis and Brows. But when I rebranded and I incorporated the business to an LLC, I called it the Choc Factory, and that was part of the reason because I love the Choc Factory. I mean, I love the Cheesecake Factory down, baby. And then, of course, Big Choc knocked the little one, and then I cater to African American skin. So y'all know I'm waxing chocolate coochie all day. So the Choc Factory felt like it was perfect. That was just a random fun fact. All right, y'all. Now it's time to pull the lip strip. If you know anything about the lip strip, baby, that is the strip that hurt the worst. Okay, a lot of people be saying the mound. I'm not a mound girly. I disagree. I think it is the lip strip that hurt the worst. So that's a tough question. Here at Wax Room on Air, I ask a really hard question that is kind of sometimes a tearjerker or maybe even a little bit uncomfortable for my guests or myself to answer. Today's lip strip is, have you ever been judged or discriminated against when you were PMSing? My answer would have to be no. Because like I told you, I haven't really had a bad experience with my period. Now, I have seen that happen, though, so I know for a fact it's a real thing. Like, I seen girls start their period at school or even at work. They bleed through their clothes, and then people, like, judge them really harshly. Like, haha, she's bleeding. How you didn't know your cycle was coming, especially if it happens to an adult woman. And I actually discussed that in a few episodes back, where I told you I was out dancing and my cycle came on and I had on some white pants, y'all, at the club in some white pants, and my cycle came on. That shit was so fucking embarrassing. I don't know if anybody caught it. I know people on live seen it and everybody was messaging me like, girl, get off live. I think your cycle came down. But I'm over that. Like, it happened. It is what it is. So I can't really say that I ever was discriminated against. But I did just have a recent little situation, and that's what made me come and record this damn episode, y'all. So today is Thursday, right? So last Thursday, me and my man, we had some words. We always talk for a really long time. We be on the phone for like 2 hours, 4 hours. Child, one time we spent, I think it was like 7 hours on the phone. And we be having some like really good heated debates. I ain't gonna lie, he one of them, like, he be having some crazy viewpoints and they really like strong. He will get you canceled really quickly talking to him because the shit be, he be going left, okay? So usually I'm not offended, but this particular day I found myself like highly sensitive to a lot of the things that he was saying. And so at the end of that conversation, he said something to the effect of like, I'm gonna tell you the truth or whatever. And then he was like, nah, never mind. And so y'all know how we do. I was like, no, what's up? Tell me the truth. And baby, when that man started listing them truths, hold on, because who the hell is you talking to? And I expected the truth. I'm not one of them. I don't get offended by the truth. Tell me the truth. I mean that. But don't try to demean me. Don't try to devalue me. Don't try to make me feel less than or unworthy, because that's not love. If you got to correct somebody and you got to be nasty about it, then that's not love. If you trying to hurt somebody with the truth and like pass it off and be like, oh, that's just because I'm an honest person. No, that's just because you're an asshole. And I'm not saying that about my man. I'm just saying, like, in general, if anybody, if you feeling like you being honest requires you to hurt somebody's feelings or demean them or devalue them, then you really need to look inward at yourself and your intent. Because the truth, while it hurts, it doesn't have to be like gut-wrenching or like a backstab or like, I don't even know the word, but child. Anyways, let me get into what happened. So he got this list, y'all, that he going down, and I ain't even gonna get into the list. And so at the end of it, I told him, I was like, okay, you know what? You need to go date somebody that you like, because based off of everything you just said, I don't think you like me or whatever. And he was like, okay, fine, I'll date somebody I like. I said, okay, good night. Click. Then I talked to that man for the whole weekend. One thing I have practiced, ladies, which is really important, learn the art of detachment. I'm not crashing out behind no man. I don't care if it's my husband. Not crashing out, not going crazy, not finna get on my knees, not finna break character or embarrass myself, none of that. So we didn't talk for the weekend, and then my baby's birthday was on Monday. He sent a text message, told Mari happy birthday. And so that was kind of like when we started back talking again. At this point, I still hadn't started my cycle, y'all. So when I got off of work that night, or when he got off work that night, I called him and we talked a little bit. And again, we having this conversation, but I cannot dodge the shit that he's saying. I'm like highly sensitive to every fucking thing that he's saying. And it's cutting deep. Mind you, any other time, he a very gentle guy, very sweet, God-fearing man. He handles me with like so much grace. I told y'all, the man asked me like, what do you like to eat? Like when you on your cycle, I'm gonna bring you the snacks that you want or what have you. I might show y'all a little screenshot of it. I never really had a man, I never had a man be that concerned about my period. And it made me think like, damn, I had to really think like, what do I like during my period or what do I do? And it took him being considerate and selfless for me to even spark that idea. So he is a very gentle, sweet guy. But baby, when I tell y'all everything that he was saying was cutting deep, baby, them pains was sharp. I wanted to empty the clip on him because who is you talking to? And so after our last argument, I was in full-blown tears, y'all, like crying. Hung up the phone. I'm pretty sure he called back because it rung, but my phone went dead. Baby, I put that phone on the charger. I blocked his phone number. I removed him off of all my social media. I removed him off of all my social media, everything. Sir, you gotta go. Cause what? And like, it was a lot and it was so painful. I just really couldn't take it. And let me just interject a little bit. It was a point in that conversation where he took me back to when I was with my ex. And so for what y'all do know, if y'all have been following these episodes, I dated a guy who could be considered a narcissist. I'm not here to diagnose nobody. But when we would have conversations or arguments, sometimes he would hit below the belt. His typical form of abuse is cold shoulder, stonewalling. Like that's usually what he do. He gonna ignore me. He not gonna talk to me. He gonna make me feel like shit with the silent treatment. But anytime we are engaging in actual conversation, he gonna make me feel stupid. He'll make me feel crazy, like something is wrong with me. It's a lot of manipulation and like conniving in the conversations with him. And he's a very, very intelligent guy too. So that's another thing. He using like his wittiness to be an asshole. And a lot of the times when you dealing with a person like that, you feel inferior. And it's a lot of mental and emotional abuse. And so a part of you feel triggered and you want to defend yourself, but then a part of you don't want to defend yourself because then they're going to be like, look, that's why you crazy. Look, you yelling at me. Look, you screaming at me. Whole time you really just trying to make yourself heard. But the person is literally committed to misunderstanding you. And it's just like this mental gymnastics that you go through with trying to prove yourself to somebody. And so when me and my dude, we was having a little disagreement, I reverted to that. Like my body was like in flight or flight. My body was in like flight or fight mode. Like I felt like, okay, he thinking I'm crazy. He thinking I'm psychotic. He think I have mental health issues. And that's really not what it is. I'm not articulating myself well. He not understanding me. And so I just went into this like deep panic. And then y'all, he said something. Oh, let me think what he said. What did he say that really made me get off the phone? Oh, he told me, he was like, I can't help you. So he was real pissed that I told him that I felt like he didn't like me. Because he was like, after everything I do for you, crazy. Why would you feel like I don't like you? How is that the outcome that you come up with? How is that your conclusion? Or whatever. And so I gave him all the reasons. And then he told me like, okay, that's bullshit. Which I ain't gonna put y'all all in the tea, but I'm just like, I'm ladies, like we talk, I'm telling y'all I had a crazy moment. This is how I realized like, okay, maybe you was PMSing a little bit. So what he said to me was, he was like, you know what? I can't help you with that. Only God can. That is what triggered the breakdown. Because I do struggle with anxiety. And I do struggle with depression. And I have fought a really long time to heal myself from that and to not allow it to show up in my everyday life, and to heal my children and shield and protect my children from it. So it's a dog fight. When you fighting for your mental wellness, sometimes it's really a dog fight. And sometimes you feel like nobody have you. Sometimes it feel like God himself can't even help you. Mind you, it's mental unwellness. No, that's not true, but the enemy is playing with your mind. And sometimes it really is a dogfight. I really don't even know how to articulate it. So at this point in time, I'm really fighting not only like my negative thoughts and the thoughts that the enemy and the seeds that he's planting in my head, but I'm also trying to passionately express myself. And then you tell me like, it's nothing you can do to help me. Only God can do that. Mind you, there are times where I'm very, very low and I feel like God can't even help me. So that made me feel like, okay, something wrong with you. And that's just the bottom line. You psychotic, you bipolar, you got some deep mental health issues, you depressed, you anxious, you unworthy, you do not need to be mothering these kids, can't nobody help you. Like that's literally that's not what he said, but that is how that shit was being communicated, like translated to me. That is the way that my brain was taking it. And what is that called? Like, oh, what is that called? When you like scribe, when you like, oh fuck, I cannot think of the word. That's how my brain was encrypting it, decrypting it, whatever the fuck it's called. And so I was like, damn, can God even help me? And to me, it was something very insensitive to say. And I stand on that. That shit was insensitive. That's not something you tell somebody. If it gets to that point, then you just need to get off the phone, leave them alone. Mind you, dealing with people who have depression and anxiety, there is a level of patience that you have to have. And nobody is entitled to deal with a person who struggles with mental health issues, whether they're mild or highly severe. You do not have to deal with nobody with mental health issues. But if you do decide to take that on, then you got to be a safe space. You cannot be hateful, right? You can't say mean things. You can't cut them deep. You can't make fun of them or ridicule them. If you got to stoop that low, then just leave them people alone, because they fighting day in and day out to have a normal life. And they know that they're not normal. You don't have to tell them that. They fight with this thing every fucking day. So for you to like try to be a mirror and hold it up, it actually feels like you're ridiculing them. And that was the problem that I had with it. But like I told y'all, like I be practicing detachment real good. So when I blocked them, got them off my social media shit, I was chilling. But deep down inside, I felt like I hadn't done no healing. But baby, the way I've been healing on this podcast, telling y'all all my business, the way I've been working real hard in my actual business, bringing these pussy boxes back to y'all, getting back into the wax room, like really just doing my thing. Everybody coming to me, they want to come and tell their stories. People telling me like they love what the podcast is doing. They're healing themselves through the podcast, which literally was the vision that God had implanted in me. I have evidence that I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. But for some reason, I was just like, my mind was not recognizing any of that. And I was down bad, y'all. And I realized like, okay, something is wrong. And when I became inquisitive, I started looking up PMS symptoms. And then I went down a rabbit hole and found something called PMDD, right? So this PMDD is actually worse than PMSing. And I think that any woman, every woman, even if you don't have these symptoms, familiarize yourself with this so that you can help your daughters or your sisters or your friends, because we're going to get the word out about this. I have never heard about it until a couple of days ago. And that's why I said, oh, you know what? I need to drop an emergency episode on this. So the symptoms that I was experiencing when I was like hypersensitive to the things that he was saying were mostly aligned with PMDD than they were PMSing. And that's why I really just wanted to come in here and talk about it. So I am going to read y'all a little bit of the research that I did on it, just so that y'all can have the information. I do encourage you to go research it for yourself. But to bring all of that back home, like, no, technically I've never been discriminated against or treated bad or judged because I was PMSing until this time. I do not believe that. I didn't even know that I was PMSing. So I know for a fact my partner did not know that I was dealing with, the period blues. He had no idea. So on the surface level, yeah. But on the deeper level, no. I don't think I ever been intentionally judged or treated bad because I was PMSing. And again, I'm not dismissing that. I know that happened. I know for a fact it happened. I know people be like thinking that women are faking because they have these heavy cramps and they be pain. They be like wincing in pain and, leaning over, grabbing their stomach. A lot of women cannot work or go to school or even have any type of normal activity when they are on their cycles. Like the women who suffer from endometriosis and things like that, they have terrible periods. So I imagine that a lot of those women have been discriminated against. Honestly, if you have experienced that, shoot me an email, shoot me a DM, and come sit on the couch. Let's talk about it. Let's get that awareness out if you have been discriminated against when you were PMSing or when you were on your cycle. I'm going to transition a little bit and we're going to get into PMDD. And again, I'm going to read straight from the research that I did myself. And I think that y'all should do your own research, but I just want to bring the awareness. So PMDD is a severe chronic medical condition that is classified as a mood disorder. It is characterized by debilitating physical, emotional, and behavioral symptoms that occur during the luteal phase and subside shortly after bleeding begins. So the luteal phase is the 1 to 2 weeks before your cycle. So it's right before your cycle phase starts. You're in the luteal phase, and then when you're actually bleeding, that's another phase. That's like that's like your menstrual phase. Then y'all know ovulation. I'm pretty sure most women are familiar with ovulation, but our cycle is in several different phases. Won't get into all of those details right now, but we will talk about it because we need to talk more about that on this episode. I mean, we do need to talk more about period health on the podcast. Now, it says to be diagnosed with PMDD, a person must experience at least 5 symptoms, including one or more of the following core emotional symptoms: mood swings, including sudden feelings of sadness or sensitivity to rejection. But when I tell y'all, I just felt rejected and I was hypersensitive to everything that man was saying, child. I was going through it. Number 1 is marked mood swings, including sudden feelings of sadness or sensitivity or rejection. Number 2 is marked irritability or anger, which may include interpersonal conflicts. Number 3 is marked feelings of sadness, hopelessness, or self-critical thoughts. So you not wanting to be here anymore is a huge sign. And then number 4 is marked anxiety, tension, or feelings of being on edge. Though you got to have at least one of those. And it's going to be accompanied by these other symptoms, which are decreased interest in usual activities like going to work, going to school, social activities, difficulty concentrating, fatigue or low energy, and changes in your appetite. So those are some of the signs and warnings to let you know that you might be experiencing PMDD. Symptoms should begin during the luteal phase and improve within a few days after the onset of bleeding and be minimal or absent in the follicular phase. So the week after you stop bleeding. So really, like, to simplify it, the symptoms should start like a week or 2 before you start your cycle, and then they should subside shortly after you start bleeding, and they should be non-existent when your period is over. And that really was how my experience was. Like I told y'all, we got into it the Thursday before I started my cycle. Then I started bleeding on Monday. We got into it really, really bad Monday night, and I felt terrible. All of them symptoms, like literally suicidal, on Tuesday, Wednesday. Today is Thursday. I feel a lot better, but I did struggle today as well. But I noticed as my period is ending, the symptoms are getting a lot better. So that is something that I really just wanted to bring to y'all attention and give y'all that safe space and let y'all know y'all not the only person going through it. If it is something that you experience, we got to do our research. We got to learn about our hormones, because that's another rabbit hole I went down. Like, a lot of the times with our periods, we're having either a depletion of hormones or we're having like a increase of hormones, like progesterone, estrogen, testosterone. Like, those levels are all crazy during our cycles. And so a lot of that is, it's literally a chemical imbalance. It's causing a chemical imbalance up here. And that's why you're acting the way that you're acting. That's why you're feeling sad, or you're feeling anger, or you dissatisfied, or you getting into it with your partner or your kids. You don't want to go to work. You don't want to go to school. You literally going through a chemical imbalance in your brain. You know what I'm saying? And it's important that we learn that, because think about it like a car. You know what I'm saying? Like, if your car is running out of gas, you're not going to go charge your battery to make it work. Right? If you like trying to pump the windshield wipers and there's no fluid coming out, you're not going to go put gas in the car to make the windshield fluid come out. And so a lot of the times we be trying to fix the wrong thing because we don't understand what the hell going on. And so that's why it's very important for us to do this research. And if you're watching this and you notice those symptoms in your partner, I would do some research on how to be a supportive partner during that time, because it is a rough 2 weeks. And in my research, I've seen that a lot of people, their relationships ended in divorce and separation because this is such a severe issue. Something I had never heard of before, but y'all, we gonna talk about it. We are definitely gonna be getting into it more and more. Okay, so the cause of PMDD, like we talked about a little bit ago, mostly they attribute those causes to a fluctuation in your hormones is the reason why you feeling like that. And as far as the treatments, they have several treatment options. So number one is SSRI, and that's just basically medication. Like antidepressants and stuff like that help treat that. Again, go do your research about it. I'm not encouraging it. I'm not endorsing it. I'm just giving you the information from my own personal research. Some people do hormonal treatments, including birth control pills. I heard a lot of the girls on TikTok say that they started using birth control medication to just adjust to the PMDD symptoms that they were experiencing, because this stuff was literally ruining their lives and their relationships. Some people had lifestyle changes. So regular exercise, stress management, dietary changes, reducing caffeine, sugar, alcohol, the stuff that we're not supposed to be consuming anyways. It's not good for our health, for our skin, gut health, nothing. We aren't even supposed to be engaging in that stuff. And y'all know that. So really a lot of people just, they ate healthier or started doing more healthier things. I myself just recently hired a personal trainer. So I look forward to seeing how that's going to help me with my cycle next year, because thank God this was my last period. The crazy part, I was praying on this period. Y'all, I done had a pregnancy scare September, October, November, December. We've been taking and buying pregnancy tests like crazy, but that's another story for a different day. Some people go to therapy. Some people go to therapy for emotional regulation, and then some people increase their intake of supplements. So calcium, magnesium, or vitamin B6. Those are all the ways that people have treated this condition and help make it more manageable. Our next segment is to lighten the mood, because y'all, we discussed some heavy emotional stuff. It's called Go Through Your Phone. So I type a keyword in my phone and I'm going to read y'all a message that's related to it. So if you haven't guessed, the keyword for today's episode is cycle. So let me type cycle in my phone. And I'm gonna read two of them because they from my man. If I still got one child, the way we was beefed out. What's your favorite snack to eat when you're on your cycle? And then right after that, he said, "Are you on your cycle?" I wasn't on my cycle then, but child, I bet you he knew when I was, cause yeah, we was at each other necks, child. Our next segment is called "Don't Let Justin LaBoy Get You Fucked Up." That's where we discuss a meme. This meme says, 26 years into menstruating, and I still have not learned that when I think everything sucks and it will never ever get better, it means I will start bleeding in 48 hours. Y'all, I had a good laugh at that. Because I'm telling y'all, the sky was falling. And then when I started to bleed, I'm like, oh, that makes sense. That's why I've been a crazy woman, a mad woman the past week and a half. We're going to skip the sex talk for today and we're going to get straight into the trauma dump. I did pull these tweets off of X. I did not put the person's name in there because this is a very sensitive topic. I don't know if people want to delete that stuff, if they want it to be on the internet or whatever. So I'm not going to put any names on it. But I'm just going to read through them because I know that there are people out there who can identify with these tweets. Our first trauma dump says, PMDD is terrifying. 7 days of intense suicidal thoughts every single month. I'm so tired. Our second trauma dump says, PMDD is actually so fucking evil. Like, what do you mean I can be the most mentally stable I've ever been, and then a week before my period, I want to fucking kill myself in the most violent way possible? I'm telling y'all, that shit did not make sense. When I was so sad, I'm like, bro, like how? You got a good man loving on you. And I mean, that man rubbed me down. I told him the other night, like, being in his arms feels so good. It feels so safe. Like, I'd probably choose that over $1 million. And we talked about it. And no, I will not choose being in his arms over $1 million. I'm going to choose the $1 million and he could come hold me afterwards. But he has been a safe space leading up into that week. So, she right. You'll be mentally stable. Everything be going well. And then before you know it, you feel like you need to be submitted into Green Oaks. For those of y'all that don't know, Green Oaks is a mental hospital out here in Dallas, Texas. And our last trauma dump says, the intrusive thoughts that come during a PMDD episode is enough for a one-way ticket into a psych ward. Y'all see what I'm saying? I just knew. Like, when he said that whole, like, only God can help you, I was like, do I need to be admitted into a mental hospital? What is wrong with me? Oh, y'all, I'm glad that shit is over. I'm glad it's over. We're going to get right into Ouch Bomb, which is our healing advice. It says, we don't realize that the first sign our mental health is suffering isn't a panic attack or an emotional breakdown. It starts with waking up exhausted, even after sufficient sleep, difficulty getting out of bed, frequent headaches, lack of motivation, gut issues, skin issues, muscle aches, the need to distance yourself, irritability, disturbed sleep, low energy, feeling lost or stuck, memory struggles, self-sabotage behaviors, brain fog, fatigue. Your body speaks to you. Listen to it before it has to scream. And I could really end the episode there, because that's what this is about. That's why I said this is an emergency episode. We got to start learning about our bodies. We got to start learning about these hormones, what they mean. We need to go get our hormone levels checked so that we can know how to support and advocate for ourselves as women. And don't let your body scream. Like, don't wait till you get into a breaking point, because the one thing about your body is it will shut down. And I really just want to attest to the fact that your body will talk to you. We're going to talk more about this in the big episode where I tell my full story, y'all. But there was a time and point in my life where I bled for like 3 months straight. I think it was like 40 or 50 days I was bleeding. It was probably over there. My body was telling me that something was not right. And when I finally left that relationship and I got out of that toxic environment, the bleeding stopped. I really felt like that lady in the Bible who had the issue of blood, because nobody knew what was going on. My doctor was saying, like, maybe it's hormones because I had just had the baby. I was still breastfeeding. The stress from dealing with everything that was going on at home in my relationship. They had put me on antidepressants, postpartum depression medication, and literally nothing was stopping the bleeding. I bled that whole freaking time, all them days. And it's because my body was trying to tell me something. And it took me literally that long to finally get up and leave the environment that I was in. And once I did, within 48 hours, my body was healing itself. I'll get into Pass Me the Ox. I really don't have no songs to recommend for y'all today. I really just want y'all to go listen to some podcast episodes about your period, about PMS and about PMDD. There are quite a few out there. That's actually how I did my research. And just get to know your body a little bit more. Now it's time to rebook, okay? Rebooking is the absolute most important part of your wax because it keeps you dedicated and it keeps you consistent. Here at Wax Room on Air, when I ask y'all to rebook, I just ask y'all to keep in touch. If y'all found value in this episode, make sure that you follow, make sure that you like, you comment, review. I know y'all probably gonna try to end. Do not end this episode. Don't cut it off. Don't go to the next episode. Stay here. If you on YouTube, do not scroll. This is very important. If you are getting value out of this, I really need y'all to comment. Say something to me. Like it. Leave a review. In fact, if you leave me a review wherever it's at, on YouTube or on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, screenshot your review, email it to me, info@thechocfactory.org. All of this will be in the description box. If you email me a screenshot of your review, I'm going to send you a free product out of the pussy box, okay? My word. It's very important that you leave your reviews and your feedback. It helps me curate this. And this stuff costs a lot of money, y'all. We need sponsors, okay? We need that money, honey. What else was I finna say? Oh, the Wax Pass. I cannot close without telling y'all. Please get your Wax Pass. I am not playing. If you really want me to wax you in 2025, it is imperative that you get yourself a Wax Pass. That is the only way that you will be able to be waxed by me personally. So please make sure that you secure your Wax Pass in December. Okay? You cannot get it in January. You have to get your Wax Pass in December. If there is nothing else, thank you so much for tuning into another episode of Wax Room on Air. My name is Choc. I'm your host and coochie connoisseur. I might fuck around and heal. Are you coming?